Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Word on the Snakevine, where we talk all about things venomous. And I'm your host today, Deacon. And today I have joining me as my co-host.
Hi, I'm Ed.
And today we have Bioken joining us. So we have Clare Taylor and Kyle Ray from Bioken Snake Farm. I was going to say the name of where the snake farm is based. However, my words probably will not come out my mouth. So how are you two today?
We're very well, thank you.
Yeah, we're doing very well here.
Good. So I think most of our listeners will know who Bioken is through the years. So we're really excited to have you come and join us today and give our listeners a little bit more background about the work that you guys are doing and the great things that you've done in the past, as well as I think most people will already know. So I think we'll start with how was Bioken started with the people involved, and how do people generally get involved with Bioken?
Okay, Bioken was set up in 1980, in the early 80s, by James and Sandra Ash, and it was a snake farm, and it was originally set up for venom extraction and sale of venom, and they ran it for a long time until such time as they were struggling. James had lung cancer and survived a long time on one lung. And so by the time Roy, my husband, who died last year, was James's protege for a long time. And we actually came here on holiday, went to see James and Sandra. And he said he couldn't run it anymore because he was just old and not in the best of health. And the snake farm seems to be the kind of place which is handed down. It's a labour of love, and it's a vocation, and it's for people who are genuinely interested in snakes. There's a lot of people who have that passion. We've grown to know. So we agreed on the spot. Actually, I'm a lot more impulsive and was happy to take it on the spot. And Roy took a day to think about it and then said we would take it on after James and Sandra, which we did. And that was 18 years ago. And that's where we are now. And now Kyle, the way Roy was one of James's proteges, Kyle here next to me, who's now, we took him on as a curator, but he's much, much more than that now. And he's here, and Kyle was Royan's protege, and so that is a very, very, very brief summary up to the present day of Bioken.
And I think that's quite important, that it feels very much like it's even though nobody's direct family, that it feels like a family atmosphere and a family that passing it down kind of way that Bioken has gone from ownership to ownership feels like everybody's quite heavily invested in that, and that creates the great place that you guys are and have.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a genuine passion for snakes and for the job. I'm a nurse by training, and not snaky for all of you on the snake vine. But I'm a nurse, and I absolutely love the anti-venom and the snake bite. I love being in hospitals looking at snake bite patients. That's actually what I love to do, and I'm very interested. And I do a lot of almost consultancy these days over the phone, remotely dealing with snake bites all over the country now, and talking doctors and people through quite often harmless snake bites, which is quite hard to explain to somebody that they don't need to worry when they're absolutely sweating that they're going to die.
And I think that's one of the things that you guys have done so well there in the area that you work in, is the fact that you've had the snake-based person as well as having yourself that is very hospital-based, nurse-based, and being able to help on both sides with identification, removal, snake bite and snake bite treatment. And obviously been big advocates of the WHO movement and bits and
Yeah.
pieces that have happened in Leiden and such forth over the years.
Yeah, exactly. It's all been very progressive over the last few years. I mean, when we took on the snake farm, James actually said, "Oh, you'll never make any money doing it, so you better do something else at the same time." So luckily, Rowan was a builder, so it's come a long way since then, and thanks to WHO connections and work that we've done with various organisations, we have been able to sustain the farm and make. I mean, if James and Sandra were around today, they wouldn't believe what's going on at the snake farm and what's both locally at the snake farm and the way Bioken is just. They wouldn't believe we're doing a podcast. So it's really come a long way in the last couple of years.
That's great.
Yeah.
As you've said, like snakebite and the challenges facing is quite multidisciplinary. You need that wide background behind it. So, Kyle, could you tell us how you got into Bioken and kind of your background?
So I grew up around snakes. My father had a small python in the house, and my godfather, who lived right next door, also had a few snakes and used to catch and keep snakes. So I was always very interested in them. Found them curious. Found them very interesting. And then when in school, when I was about 13, we had our work experience, and I really wanted to come and work at a snake farm. My mum thought that if it was something that I was really passionate about, it's better I learn to do it properly, rather than trying to teach myself and catch venomous snakes without her knowing. So she sent me off to the snake farm here at Bioken, and I did I think it was two weeks here, work experience. And Roy actually told me then, he was like, yeah, you're never going to be able to make money in this, so go and find something else, and we can keep this as a hobby on the side and keep coming back. And then every school holiday I'd come down, I'd stay with Roy and Clare here, and spend all my days at the snake farm cleaning cages. We had seminars which we hold every 2 years, and I'd come down for those. And then I left school at 16, and I came down and did a long stint here, about 3 months, working, catching snakes. And then that's where I started, or Roy took me aside and we started showing me how to handle venomous snakes, how to catch them, going out, talking to the communities, milking snakes. And then I went off and I was doing guiding, but always associated with Bioken, catching snakes where I could. I was based in Nairobi and the Mara, and again, I was a person to call if you had a snake in your area or anything like that. And then it was beginning of this year where I was chatting to Clare, and they said, why don't you guys come up here? So we moved up here beginning of March, to come down and work at the snake farm now.
Fantastic. It must have been a great experience going through the different routes into working with venomous snakes, as you described. Everyone has their different way. Yeah, and we started off, we had we still got it, a youth wing project. So you start off as a young kid, eager to come in, and you start in the youth wing, and then you climb up into the senior youth wing, and it's trying to get these kids who are interested in snakes to come out and learn to do it properly, because you get a lot of people who watch a few movies or documentaries and then go out and try and do it, and it's not the best way to do it. Someone can teach you and show you how to do it properly and safely,
especially in a country like Kenya.
Especially
the misidentification of snakes is very easy.
It's huge,
and it could be quite a scary situation that you could end up in very quickly if you've not got somebody to help you and train you in the correct ways and handling techniques that there is out there for venomous and non-venomous snakes.
We get a lot of parents, having the snake farm in Watamu, which Watamu is a very popular domestic Kenyan holiday spot. And a lot of the children want to come here to the snake farm. And so a lot of them, the parents will take either Kyle or I or one of the guys aside at the farm and say, listen, can you please tell little Johnny not to pick up snakes? Because, you know, these kids, these walk into the house. And Kenyan children tend to be very, very brave. They're not scared of insects and creatures and things. And they'll walk in and say, Mummy, Mummy, look at this. And the mum doesn't know what they're holding and the kid doesn't know what they're holding. So we have a rule with little children that we tell them they don't pick up a snake ever, 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 ever. And so, you know, that's a really important thing with us as well, is even if they think they can identify them, they're told not to pick up anything.
We're all, like with WhatsApp and all that, you get all these little kids sending us messages. What is this? Can I pick it up? Or what shall I do with it?
Yeah.
It's quite a community-based burden, isn't it? That places like yourself that are a tourist attraction as well in a lot of ways, that have that kind of responsibility to turn around to the local communities and say, don't do it, to the kids especially, don't do it, leave it. And I think it means a lot more if it comes from you, who are experts in the field and experts in Kenyan snakes, to tell them to not pick them up, and then they're hopefully more likely to take that on board.
Yeah,
they really, really listen to us. That's a really big thing. They really listen to us, so it's a good position to be in.
Yeah, definitely, isn't it? It's a testament to yourselves and the history of Bioken within the community and within snakebite within Kenya and East Africa, which kind of leads us on to, would you be able to talk a bit about the challenges faced by Kenya through snakebite and the challenges your Bioken faces in trying to help deal with the snakebite crisis?
So this is a really hot topic with us at the moment, and this podcast is actually great timing, because we had our Minister for Wildlife and Tourism at the snake farm within the last 6 weeks. Month to 6 weeks. He was here for a visit in Watamu, and he called and he said, I really need to come to the snake farm because there's a compensation scheme going on in Kenya at the moment for human-wildlife conflict. So what that immediately makes you think of is that if you border a wildlife area and an elephant comes into your precious maize shamba and tramples and eats all your maize and then gores one of your children, there's a compensation scheme now to help prevent that community from then going out and killing that elephant. So they'll compensate. There's a whole load of ranges of compensation amounts. So they didn't just do elephants, they did hippos and crocodiles and all the normal ones that you would think of, and they put snakebite on there. And I think quite simply it was 5 million shillings if you got killed and 2 million if you got injured by a snake. So if you had let's say a puff had a bite on your big toe and you ended up being amputated from the knee down, you got compensated. But what's happened is the claims for snakebite have gone off the charts to the point where they can't be paid. So now Kenya Wildlife Service have got an issue where they have hundreds and hundreds of outstanding, I suppose, to investigate snakebite cases for compensation, and they can't pay it. It's the highest financial problem on their compensation scheme. So they came to us and they said, how can we sort this out? So we said, well, we've been trying for years to implement some sort of countrywide snake, first of all, snake awareness, but also snake bite protocol. So first of all, a prevention scheme, but you can't prevent all of them, so they know what to do in the case of. So it's not actually rocket science, and avoiding snakes and snake bite in and around your house is not difficult, and actually it has multiple benefits. For example, sleeping off the ground and sleeping under a mosquito net prevents a dozen other problems at the same time, not just avoiding a venomous snake bite. And keeping your area around your house neat and tidy benefits you again in another 10 ways, and etc., etc. So we've been trying to sort of get in and suggest this. Anyway, the visit went extremely well, and they were totally open to and very excited about all our plans. Secondly, we are on the snakebite treatment side. There's a lot of work going on at the moment with antivenom, because there are, to be honest, all of the antivenoms out there are not brilliantly effective. So, now if you get malaria, there's excellent medicine and you can get treated and you get better as a general rule. But at the moment, antivenom is very expensive. It's hard to get. There's substandard ones. The best ones aren't brilliant. And so there's
worked on, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work going on at the moment. It's really exciting stuff. We're heavily involved. And that is our big challenge at the moment. And another, on basic everyday levels, our challenges involve witch doctors, for example, traditional healers, who we now, in a certain way, we work with, almost in our area anyway, as almost like a triage system, by just, generally witch doctors and traditional healers are the elders in a community. So if you can, they're intelligent people, so you can go and you can say, listen, as my late husband used to say, go to the witch doctor and complain about your love life or your financial issues, but don't go to the witch doctor in the case of a snake bite, because it doesn't work. But you can't leave the traditional healer out altogether, because that creates social problems within your community. You've left him out, he hasn't made his cut. So we use them almost like a triage. Like if you see there's a problem with this person that comes to you, do your little thing, but suggest to them that they come on and go to the doctor, or they call us.
Referral.
It's almost like a referral. And so on a very simple level, those are some of our challenges. But the greater challenge is obviously, if you are bitten by a venomous snake, you need antivenom, and you need somebody that knows how to recognize somebody that requires antivenom and how to treat with it. That's where we are at the moment.
I think you get a lot of the docs as well with having these ineffective antivenoms who are also scared of using it. So there'll be a bite case and they'll not like to use any of the antivenoms, even if it's some which are good ones.
Yeah, antivenom has bad press, full bad reactions, and there's problems with antivenoms on many levels at the moment, and the doctors are aware of it. And so it is difficult, and people are dying from snakebite unnecessarily. And, in Africa, and like with everywhere, snakes themselves are so feared, and there's a lot of suspicion around snakes and a lot of superstition. Like if you get bitten by a snake, you look at it as like a bit of bad luck. It's like stepping on a thorn, but you would never think that someone made you step on that thorn because of something you did bad in your past life. And sometimes snakebite has a lot of other connotations as well, which complicate matters sometimes.
Sorry, Ross is meant to come in. I think he's on mute.
Hello, sorry. Yes, my dog was choking, and I had to run and stop him choking.
Oh God, is he all right?
No, he's fine. I've got I think he's been chewing something, and he's got just a bit of a toy stuck in his throat. So I just pulled it out. He seems okay.
Oh my goodness.
So I passed him to the wife, and hopefully he'll be fine. So I apologise about that.
That's all right.
So You've mentioned the compensation scheme going on, and how it includes various different animals, and that they included snakebite. Was there any kind of discussion with, for example, yourselves or various other institutes that work with within snakebite about adding, because of the sheer numbers that you'll see within Kenya? Or was it just kind of a, we'll put them on and see what happens?
I think it was sort of, they know that the problem was out there.
I don't think they knew the scale when they introduced that compensation scheme, to be honest. Because also the recording of snakebite was never, snakebite death or snake bites is, I think it's the recording of it too. I don't think the records showed quite the scale of the problem, perhaps.
It's something that we've seen regularly around the world in different countries with snakebite issues, where the recording of snake bites is never as accurate as you would like, so the numbers are never reflected, and then you get that disparity between, for example, a government hospital and private hospitals, and people who never turn up. And then you've got the dry bite issues on top of it, which will have added more compensation claims. So then would they have to put in stipulations about dry bites, or was it just a kind of, here you go?
We see, for example, I've dealt with bites where I've either been sent the photograph of the snake, and I can tell, I'm got quite good at my ID, and I can tell that it's a house snake, and then the doctor will say, but the guy his eyeballs are rolling and he's frothing at the mouth and he's this and that going on. And I would say, well, if that is the snake that bit him, that's all in his, like, it's psychological, let's just say. It's not even, can't even be classed as a dry bite. It's a harmless bite. Quite often then we have to do a tiny bit of the placebo route just to make him feel better. But that will be classed as a snake bite.
The farm a long time ago, and he arrived, had been bitten by a snake, and he was on the back of a bicycle, and he was throwing up, fitting and everything, and they pulled out the snake, and it was a house snake, which had been smashed to smithereens. And we were now trying to just calm him down and sort of, it's not a venomous snake, it's fine. We took them to see, or his brother, to see one of the other house snakes we had. I think it bit one of us, and we were like, it's absolutely fine. And then it was just a case of trying to calm him down, give him a sugary tea, and he rode out of there an hour or so later once he had calmed down.
Yeah. And I'd say dry bites, as much as even when I'm doing teaching on snake bite treatment, and we talk about dry bites, they're pretty rare, I'd say. It's not often that we get, there's a great big snake that's just bitten someone and they've got fang marks and there's no envenoming going on. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at Kyle to see if he agrees with me, but proper dry bites where there's nothing going on and it really has been a big serious snake, it honestly doesn't really happen very much at all. Even a scratch from one of those bad boys causes big trouble, in my experience. Yeah. I've seen people that really are in a serious condition, and you go to try and look for the fang marks and they're not even two proper fang marks. It's a scratch on a finger, and the guy's in serious trouble. So I don't see the theory of dry bites very often. I see more problems with harmless snakes that, as Kyle says, have been bashed to death and they've bitten someone. I actually see that a lot more often, and I had one the other day with a lady that called from Rimaruti, and that was within the last week, and it was a staff member of hers, and everybody was panic stations. And I get the idea of the snake and I hear what's going on, and the guy's got a few mild symptoms, but going together with the geography of where the bite was, the location of where the bite was, and then a decent photo of the snake, I can tell them with all assurity that the guy's going to be 100% fine, don't worry. But it's always a lot better to send them off to the hospital. They have a tetanus jab, possibly put on a drip. Because of the psychological impact of being bitten by a snake, it's better to give somebody a little bit of TLC and send them on their way than just to brush it off and tell them they'll be fine. That can be quite hard for them to believe a lot of the time.
Especially when a lot of these people are seeing family and friends die from snake bites as well through their life.
Yes.
It's, as you say, a lot of it is psychological. A lot of it is probably a grown fear because of the situation that they've seen with their families and with their friends and colleagues, that actually spending that little bit of time to help somebody try and recover, even if it's from a harmless snake, to try and recover properly, giving them that little bit of extra emotional and psychological support, it will help them the next time that something similar could happen to themselves or to somebody else around them. And I think that's one thing that we don't talk very much about, is actually the psychological burden that happens with snake bites, and that's also within the communities that these things are happening within as well. There's obviously, it takes a big toll on everybody involved.
You have to be very considerate when you're talking to people, and really not just brush them off and make them feel silly about being scared, because snakes is, I wouldn't even say a fully recovered snake phobic, but I'm not.
We've got Claire holding a snake once or twice, but not very often.
Yeah, so I never pretend or claim to be snaky, but I have a very, very good understanding, having been in it with Rowan for as long as I have. And so I think it's very important to be understanding and patient and, considerate because it's a, like Kyle's sitting next to me, and when these guys are all doing their snaky thing and holding great big venomous snakes, and I have to remind them that I'm the normal one being scared of snakes, not them, And so you have to remember that people are not just scared of the venom of snakes, they're scared of the whole concept of a snake, And so to make people feel like they're not an idiot for being bitten, for being scared the fact that they got bitten, and they're not silly for not knowing that it was harmless, and they did the right thing. And the more you can, every single snake encounter that we have with people, even when our guys go off on the motorbike to go and catch a snake from a village that somebody's called us for, it's never just go pick it up and remove it. It's a whole education opportunity.
You get everyone coming around to see, especially when you're going out to see someone come and catch a big puff adder or a little house snake, whatever it is.
It brings everyone from far and wide to come. The snake people are coming to come and catch the snake that's in the hut. And you've got the opportunity to talk to 30 people or 40 people of different ages, everything from the children up to the grandpa, the men, the women, everybody in the community. And, Kyle or whoever goes to go and collect it will stand there half an hour, 1 hour, answer questions, show them the fangs, show them, why it's important not to kill them if they can, and how brilliant it was that whoever in the community called the snake farm to say, please, can you come and remove this snake rather than killing it? They explain that in order to make the medicine to fix the bite, in case that bit somebody, we need the snake, and it's no good if it's dead. Every single opportunity, whether it's a bite or a removal, is a chance to teach people. You take every opportunity.
I think that's really important with the community aspect of the community work that you do. That you are trying to, as you say, educate these people, and just if you can, just get them to, as you say, ring you rather than kill an animal. The actual environmental impact, the impact on somebody else's life maybe, or other things that can go with that. Fantastic, and it's good for the village as well to be able to learn to live with these animals.
It's a positive interaction with the animal, which, if there's continual positive interactions, you start to dispel the myths. You break the fear. If you can see the snake isn't a threat to you, with a trained professional, obviously. But then the more people who see it, the more positive interactions they have with each snake. Hopefully, obviously it's a long process, but it does slowly break down some of the fears, like you've seen within being around snakes yourself. It does change your interaction, your thought process around the snakes. The more you see them, the more you interact with them, and it does make them less scary sometimes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that if these sessions that you have when you remove the animals, it gives you a good opportunity to see people where people are living and give these communities some feedback on how they're sleeping, and what they can do to help mitigate some of these conflicts that they have as well. And I think that's probably quite a big thing to the community, and for you guys to actually be able to see how the locals are living and interacting with these animals as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it is that thing of like all these kids since tiny have been sort of drilled into their head that all these myths and stuff that you hear about, to stay away from them and to make them scared of them and how they're such dreadful things. So trying to break those myths and explain that they're actually not that bad. They weren't sent here by Satan or anyone like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that we should live with them, because without them, then we'll have a huge problem with rodents and diseases and all sorts of other things.
So I'm going to ask a little bit off-topic question. So you just spoke about the myths that some of these villagers are telling their children. Some of the locals are telling their children to keep them to stay away. So what other myths do they tell them? Because we've had this from other countries. I was just wondering if they're similar things, really.
You get all sorts of different ones. I went to a talk the other day at done by Nairobi Snake Park, and it was all about myths, and they were brought up and all the ones that they had dug out. And there are some really weird ones, like if a green snake goes in your nose, you have to get only your uncle can remove it. So there's very random things that just does not even make sense. To like, if you see a snake, you have to stand very still and you hold your wrist. And when you hold your wrist, the snake will stop moving. So there's loads and loads of.
You see the standing still. I could see if you stand still, the reality of it is the snake is going to just move away.
Yeah,
it's going to move off and leave you alone. Right? If you're quick if you're quick movement and such forth, you may scare the snake and startle it, and then you may have an issue. So that one's not such a bad one.
There's you get ones also where if you see a snake, you have to give it milk, fresh milk, for it to drink, and it'll just come and drink the milk and end up leaving you. There's some big pythons which they have, I think, up in Western Kenya, which they are very sacred and said whenever they come around, they're going to bring rain and water. And these snakes are sort of given all sorts of stuff to eat and drink, from bread to ugali, which is like a maize meal, cake, milk, and all sorts of stuff. And when you say no, they don't eat that.
It's quite interesting, all the different myths around the different countries in the world. Obviously, we've had chance to hear quite a few, but we've never had anybody on from Kenya before. So it's quite interesting to see the similarities and differences of these myths and understanding of how snakes are seen within each of these different countries. Is quite.
In there that we did have Stephen Spalls on from Kenya.
Did, yeah. Sorry.
Spoke about fear of chameleons and stuff. So we've had some Kenyan myths. It's just you've added some even better ones.
I believe that whenever you hear the Maasai walking in the bush during the day, they're whistling a lot. And they say when they're walking home at night, you should never whistle, because there's a snake which hears you and then it'll fly in and attack you. So yeah, you get some very.
I think of everything in the Maasai, I think I probably would be the least scared of the snakes that are there.
Yeah,
Especially when you're walking through the bush at night. Yeah, there's probably a few things there that could do more damage. Well, that could do as much damage as a venomous snake could.
Definitely.
So, what other community and outreach work does Bioken get involved in?
We are doing a lot of community work, and we've got a lot of very exciting stuff coming up. And most of it is based on, so the antivenom problem, let me call it, is a long-term problem, which is almost at the beginning of it right now, is just trying, we've got exciting stuff in the pipeline. I know that, with the recognition by WHO and putting snakebite back on the NTD list has been excellent, because it's created a lot more interest now in sorting out the antivenom is the actual biggest problem. Effective and safe and cost effective, I'd say those three words probably the most relevant, because the prevention and the awareness side of things is community work. It's what we do. It's what we've done for forever. That's the main part of the job. And things are going along nicely. There's a lot of work going on in various countries all over the world. I mean, having been in Leiden, as you said earlier, for listening to those talks at those conferences, and Roy, my husband, was in Geneva a month before he died, at the snakebite, at the launch of the
world map.
Yeah, the roadmap, and that is all going on. I mean, Corona obviously has put a bit of a spanner in the works, a little bit, but down here with the work we're doing, we have been carrying on. Actually, we had to close the snake farm for a little bit, but that was only to guests. The work we're doing there is carrying on. We've got exciting
new lab coming.
We were building, actually. At the moment, we're building a new lab, which is going to go towards, well, not go towards, it's going to be there for venom extractions, so that when all this kicks off properly, we've got all the East African venom that we need from all the relevant snakes. And yeah, that's where we are at the moment. But I think the main thing at the moment is still the community outreach work is the most crucial, because obviously we're not technically the scientists, so we will be looking after the snakes and producing the venom, and we'll let the science techies like you guys do the rest. That's where we are at the moment.
And I think also, as you say, the farm is open for visitors and for tourists to come and see these different animals and see what you guys do there, and obviously learn as well, which I think is a big resource to the local community as well, by all accounts. So also at Bioken, you were just saying about that you are starting up a new lab to look at antivenoms in East Africa and to help supply new antivenoms to East Africa. So how did that project come about, and kind of how have you gone around about getting funding and getting other people and other institutes involved in that to help you guys with the science side?
Well, I think I know that the WHO snakebite program needs venom from all over Africa, and we house the largest collection of African snakes in Africa, as far as I know, and we've got access and permission for collecting snakes and keeping them and extracting the venom. And we have private funding from a lot of generous people in Kenya. Bioken is very, very well respected, and so was my late husband. And a lot of what we've got is thanks to him. And a lot of the reason we're able to continue what we're doing, after he died, is because of work that he was doing with WHO and with private funders who believe in what we're doing. And so that's where we are now. And we've got, enough to do our lab, and we've got stuff in the pipeline, and that really sums it up.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. All the work that's going on, that you guys have got going on, is really going to impact the snake bite situation in Kenya and East Africa as well. Because as you say, the minute the anti-venom situations, unfortunately, is not the best within East Africa. And
within Africa, to be honest, it's all over Africa. I know that there's problems all over the place. We deal a lot with East Africa, so I get calls. I'm sure Kyle does as well. Certainly Uganda, definitely Tanzania, a lot from Tanzania and from Kenya. And I think what it is as well is Bioken. So James Ash, very, very close connections with, at LSTM, you would know Professor Worrell and people like that. We have very good association, a very good history, a very solid
There's a
history.
really strong background.
Yes, and it's not a fly-by-night organization. It's really got Steve Spalls is
James Ash long ago.
It's very well established, and I feel like we it's legitimate and respect, really, really, really respected in Kenya. I purely am here doing this job because of my husband. He's the one that deserves the credit, as does Kyle, as does all these guys. And really, we're carrying on a legacy. I feel like I'm carrying a legacy of, I knew James very, very well, and Sander. In fact, if you talk about the three ex-directors of Bioken, I was with all three of them when they died. So, it's a proper institution where it's might not be family by blood, but it's a very, very strong, close, trusting group of people. And the Bioken, I'd say the Bioken legacy around Kenya is extremely, extremely well respected and liked, and people, have a lot of faith in what we do. And I feel like a good name goes a long way to helping us along. It just has always a good, positive, exciting feel about it, and whether, we work with people from, for example, the Kenyan University, professors from there will phone us and say, could you spare us a couple of grams of something to do? I have a very promising research student who would like to do some work on puff adder venom. We have a brilliant network with everyone in the country. So it's a very nice thing to be a part of. It's a good positive place is all I can say. When you go to the snake farm, like I go down, Carl's there every day. I go to the farm a number of times a week, and there's never ever a day that I don't walk into the snake farm just to sign a check or to look at something or to say something without me thinking to myself, my God, this place has the most amazing atmosphere. And it's the guys there, when, for example, when Corona hit, we didn't lay anybody off, and we said to everybody, right, you guys are all senior, brilliant, well-respected venomous snake handlers. I don't want any of you to lose your job. You're all far too precious, but you're going to have to become builders over this season, because we're going to close to the public, but we've got building to do. So how about we don't take on a building team? You guys will be the builders, and everyone keeps their job and everything. And it's just brilliant. It's just they do the snake cleaning and the snake feeding in the morning, then everybody puts their overalls on, and then they're digging and plastering and everything. It's just the most wonderful place, and we're doing good work. That's how I feel. Really good team.
We really cannot say anything other than that, and genuinely think that what you guys are doing and the work you guys are continuing on, you'll be making Rowan very, very proud of the way you guys are continuing. And I think that is probably the best place we could end this podcast on. I think that was absolutely fantastic, and I would just love to thank you both for coming on and talking to us about the work that Bioken are doing, about the work that you've got continuing, and also the work that's coming on regarding the new anti-venom stuff as well. Well, sorry, I'm a bit choked up actually, but but genuinely, it's been fantastic having you on, and you guys are doing fantastic work. We knew you were doing fantastic work before we had you on, but to see how passionate you are about Bioken and passionate you are about the situation in Kenya and how you are changing people's lives, which you are doing every day, is absolutely fantastic. And I think it's a wonderful place for us to finish this episode. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
See us anytime if you can travel.
I would love to come to Kenya, and I think Edd will probably end up going with work at some point, hopefully. So I'd just like to thank our listeners for tuning into this episode of Word on Snakebite, and hopefully you will all, if not before, connect with Bioken social media and help support what they do and the work that they're continuing to do to help save people's lives across East Africa and Kenya. So again, thank you very much and good night.